I think just some people want everyone to be like cookie cutter versions of themselves. And when people don't fit into that mold, oh, you don't belong. Well, who the fuck
Right.
wants everybody to look the same? That'd be boring as shit. Like,
It
no.
would. It
Yes.
really would. But see, I think this is, for what it's worth, I think this is a Western phenomenon. And as dumb as a scientist, I'm going to come and tell you this. I think science is to blame for that. It sounds ridiculous. Science is to blame because scientists came out and said, well, we can define anything. Like we can know everything. And that means we want to categorize things. We want to say, oh, well, this person is such and such. And I mean, I even in the, because I'll tell you, when I started interacting more, I mean, I've always been on the fringes of the LGBTQ community because I've always identified as pansexual as well. I didn't know what to call myself in terms of my gender identity for a long time, but I've always felt pansexual and transgender. But when I first started talking to people, like I'm serious, I met somebody, I go, so tell me about yourself. And they go, well, I am demisexual, non-binary, pansexual with this and that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it was like a scene out of LA Story when they're like, can I get a double half decaf with a twist of lemon, make that an oat milk with a such and the server's writing it all down is totally fine with it, right? But in the end, you're like, you're just getting coffee, like, coffee. Like, do we have to make this quite so difficult? And I don't, there's a certain level of identity that we get from labeling ourselves. When I meet somebody now, if they ask, which, doesn't happen often, but if they ask, I will call myself a transgender woman because I want to call out where I started. That's important to me. So I will say I am a transgender woman. But we do want to break people down into about a bajillion categories,
Oh
you
my
know?
God. I'm so glad you said that because I was going to ask you, like, why is there so many fucking categories? Like the LBGQ, and then you got the plus. Now there's like a fucking square or something, and maybe there's a triangle added, and you got like a peace
It might
sign
be.
thrown in there. I don't know, but why do we need so many? Just who do you love?
So it's a good question. Well, so it's more than sexuality though, because there's gender in there now too. Because the two are related in my opinion. And I know I've had it always seems to be older British men. I don't know why this is, but I'll get yelled at by old British men who say, look, I don't know what you're doing, but you're not part of my community. Get out. And I'm like, what? Because gender and sexuality, I believe, are related.